Hi friends, welcome to Raising Lifelong Learners. I'm your host, Colleen Kessler, and this is the podcast where I encourage you to trust yourself and your differently wired kiddos as you help cultivate their curiosity, encourage them to discover the world around them, embrace who they are wired to be, all while helping them discover their passions, interests, and raise them to become the amazing adults they're meant to be. Hey, welcome back. This is episode 212. I'm excited about this topic. Today we're talking all about connection, how important connecting with your kids is and just becoming their person. I've talked about connection before in person, on the podcast in other ways, and on the site, but it bears repeating, and I think it's encouraging to talk about it in a way that reminds us to be our kiddos' soft place to land and to build the relationships when they're young so that we continue to connect as they get older. So this is going to be a good one. Special shout out and thanks to our sponsor, CTC Math. I am so appreciative of all that they do for us. It is such an honor to have them in support of the podcast. So check them out at ctcmath.com. Now, pop your earbuds in, go for a walk, tackle the dishes, or hide with some yummy chocolate from your kid. And enjoy this episode. Let me know what your biggest takeaway is if you get a chance. All right, enjoy. Okay, are you ready for this? This is my favorite topic. Connect with your kid. Okay, so you want a homeschool that is going to just rock, right? You want to feel good about your time with your kids. You want to feel like you are giving them what they need and doing the absolute best for them. There is no better way to give your kiddos exactly what they need than connecting with them on a regular basis. Building a strong relationship with your child is going to go so far towards creating the homeschool you want that you cannot over connect with your kids. I promise you. It sounds so simple, and it's really hard for us as homeschool parents to remember in the midst of it that the academics and all of the other stuff can always be brought back. We can always remediate. We can always go back and watch a couple extra back-to-back documentaries about a time period in history, or listen to a couple extra audiobooks or audio versions of The Story of the World or Mystery of History or whatever. We can always find a math tutor to catch our kids up. But if we break up relationships or we batter self-esteem, nobody's going to learn anything. Think about why, if you pulled your kid out of school, traditional schooling in the first place, why did you do it? Something wasn't working, right? A lot of times, for many of you listening, based on conversations I've had in person, at different speaking events, many of you, many of us, because I'm one of those too, pulled their kids out of school because relationships were being damaged, because self-esteem was falling down the drain, because something wasn't right and school was not going to fix it. It was making it worse. Some of you who started your kids homeschooling in the first place knew in your gut that the way your kiddo was wired was not going to be a way that was conducive to school, right? Imagine being a kid and going through life in a constant state of stress, right? Waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for the sky to fall if we're like Chicken Little, right? This is what it feels like for a kiddo struggling with anxiety, ADHD, sensory processing disorder, or any of the other challenges that are often associated with behavioral symptoms, right? Different things where kids tend to act up because they're overwhelmed, overstimulated, oversensitized, or overly seeking, or whatever. Our kids are going to act up. Kids need to feel safe and secure and loved in order to be healthy, happy, and in order to learn. And so we need to connect with them at deep levels when they are wired differently than the typical population. When our kids are neurodivergent, we need to make sure that we're connecting with them on a regular basis so that they have that safe place to land. They have a place, a person with whom to feel safe, secure, happy, and loved. And this is us, right? More often than not, it's the parent who is home with the kid most often. And so for those of us listening, those of you listening to me or me listening back to myself, it's us, right? We need to be our kids' person. Our kids know we're never going anywhere. So we need to be their person because all of us need a soft place to land, right? I bet each of us has a person that we go to when we need someone who's just going to take us for who we are and love us anyway. Our kids need that too. They need to feel secure and respected. And we get the chance to forge that place where they feel secure and respected by building trust and by being there. I've said before when I've talked about anxiety that sometimes my kiddo just needs me to rub her back and say, "You're okay. I'm here. You're fine. You're safe. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Let me know what I can do for you. I'm here and you're safe. And do you want a hug? Okay, I'm going to hug you. Oh, you don't? Okay, well, I'll just rub your back." We all need a safe place and we all need a person. And it's up to us as parents to be our kids' person so that they know we're there all the time for them. My daughter has social media like, most teens do. And a lot of kids, most kids actually, from what I am observing from the friends that my daughter has and watching, her navigate her teen years, they have their regular, let's just say Instagram or whatever social media they're currently invested in. But let's say Instagram. So they'll have their regular Instagram and then they'll have like their spam account, and their spam account is like their second account where they just have like their close friends and they just share everything. And it's funny because I'm on all of my daughter's accounts and I'll comment and say, "Hey, oh, love this. Oh, your hair looks great here." And I'll comment and I'll like things and I'll reply to her friends on there. And she's had friends say to her before, "Why is your mom on your spam account? I would never have my mom on my spam account." But I'm her person. Like, she knows she can say anything to me and we just share the jokes and I tease her about things and we have a great relationship. Being there and connecting all the time in all ways builds that trust with your kids. And so when something big happens, they'll come to you. As you become their person, as you really solidify that relationship, start to identify their triggers and help them see them. Learn first for you so you can help and offset it, but then to help teach them, learn the specific situations that maybe create anxiety or stress and how that manifests itself. And then when you know those situations, try to mitigate those stressors or prepare for them. An example of that, my 13-year-old is my anxious kid. She struggles with generalized anxiety disorder. And we were at the music studio the other day. She was at a lesson, and I was upstairs in the waiting room talking with the front desk staff and the owner of the studio, and then my other daughter's voice teacher, because my other daughter wasn't there. And so I sent the 13-year-old down to her piano lesson by herself. She's gone a million times. She knows this particular piano teacher and adores him. And I never made it down there in the half an hour because I was just engaged in all this conversation. And so we finished up our conversation and there was just about a minute or two left until her lesson was over. And so I wanted to use the restroom before the drive home. So I told the front desk person, she's relatively new and is just getting to know our family. I said, if Logan comes upstairs and I'm not back from the bathroom, she's going to panic. Can you just, if you see her come up the stairs and I'm not back out here, can you just let her know I ran to the restroom and I'll be right back? And she's like, "Sure." Okay, so sure enough, Logan was up there before I got back and she was sitting there and she looked a little shaky on her pins, but I caught the eye of the front desk person and she winked and she's like, "Yeah," she asked. And so as I was walking out with Logan to the car, I said, "Did it worry you when you came up and I wasn't there? And did Jenna Lee tell you that, I was in the restroom?" And she said, "Yeah." She's like, "I thought you died." when I walked upstairs and saw you weren't there." And I'm like, "Really? You thought I died?" She goes, "Yeah, you always come downstairs and you didn't come. And so by the end of the lesson, I figured you died upstairs. Something had to happen and you just," I said, "Have you ever felt danger in the waiting room of the music school?" And she's like, "No." I said, "Have you ever felt unsafe or threatened or felt like anybody else in the school would be threatened?" And she said, "No." And I said, "So why did you think I died?" And she goes, "Well, you didn't come, and I didn't know why you wouldn't have come, and so I just immediately thought that you just must have died and something happened, and I was gonna go upstairs and you wouldn't be there. And then I came out and you weren't there." But it was okay because Jenna Lee told me and I felt better, and so I just sat down to watch Tom and Jerry. But you never know when anxiety is gonna strike, and oftentimes when her expectation isn't met, that's when she reacts. And so I recognize her triggers and I try to offset them and prepare for them to mitigate those. But you never know. I mean, you could have just died in the middle of the music school waiting room. It's inexplicable, right? Anxiety is tricky and different and weird. But when we're our kids' person, they feel comfortable telling us those things. And we know those things. So we can identify the triggers and help to mitigate those and help our kids prepare for them. Hey there. Okay, so I want to tell you a little bit more about CTC Math. We've been using it for a few years now, and I had a conversation with my daughter the other day. She came to me and she said, "Mom, I was going to the next lesson in my math program." And she said, "I looked at it and it's something that I already know how to do. Do you want me to go through and just keep doing it? That seems kind of boring." And so we glanced through the different lessons that were in the unit, and she did. She could tell me exactly what she knew and proved that she knew all of the stuff that was coming up over the next 10 lessons. So I said, "Okay, skip it. You don't need to do something that you already know how to do, and you just proved to me that you know how to do it." That's just one of the reasons I love CTC Math. I've said before that they are sponsors of this podcast, and I'm so grateful to their sponsorship, but I'm also a customer. I pay for my subscription every year, and I have for the last several years. We are strong supporters of CTC Math. We love them. We appreciate them for so many reasons, and that is just one. And I'm not the only one. I've gotten a couple emails recently. This one's from Jamie. Jamie said, "At your recommendation, we switched over to CTC Math last month. We have used another curriculum for several years, but it just wasn't meeting our needs anymore. Now we've settled into a good rhythm. The kids are loving it, and I love that we are able to adapt it for each of their individual needs." Thank you so much for the recommendation. Jamie, I love that, and I was so excited to hear it because it just goes to show I'm not the only one who has had that experience from CTC, being able to adjust on the fly as our kids are learning. I love, love, love that. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, go to ctcmath.com. You will not be sorry. Hey there. Okay, so do you want to make learning to read fun for your kiddos? Check out Reading Eggs. We have used Reading Eggs off and on throughout the years, and all of my kids have loved it. It's a multi-award-winning online reading curriculum for ages 2 to 13. It covers phonics, sight words, comprehension, and so much more. The cool thing is there's so much scientific research that backs it up, and it's trusted by over 20 million users. When you go to their website, you can sign up for a free 30-day trial and get instant access to hundreds of lessons, worksheets, ebooks, and reports on what your kiddos are doing online. It's Kid-Safe certified, ad-free, and full of all sorts of gamification to give your kiddos exciting rewards, animations, music, all sorts of fun things to motivate your kiddo to learn. Check it out at readingeggs.com/RLL. That's readingeggs.com/RLL. You won't be sorry, and your kids will love you for it. Along with that, besides being our kiddo's person, besides identifying the triggers, we can work to develop strategies together. We can work together to find things that will work and then do those things when the triggers aren't set off so that we can draw from them more easily when they are set off. So, for example, you've heard me talk about the anxiety toolkit that I created a couple of years ago. It's a card deck that has 96 different strategies to help kids calm their worries. There's 4 different sections, things to do when you're out and about, things to do when you're at home, things to do at bedtime, and then mindfulness strategies. They are all things. Some are little games, some are activities, some are setting up corners in your house, some are simple things like making cloud pictures or counting red cars when you're out and about, just things to break the mind from the cycle of worry. But it's always easier to think of things when you have some at your fingertips, literally. So they were created as a deck of cards on a ring so you could toss them in your purse. But the idea with anything like that is that you need to practice the tasks and the activities and the strategies when you're not worried or when your kiddo is not worried, so that when they are worried, you can pull one of the ones they already recognize or know. And so with Logan, we've done those strategies forever. We put them onto a deck of cards and created that product when parents asked me repeatedly to help them write down some of those strategies when I was speaking about anxiety at conventions and conferences. And one mom said brilliantly, I thought, I wish that I could just shrink you and put you in my pocket so I could pull you out and you could tell me these strategies when I'm in the thick of the moment. And I'm like, whoa, what if we had them written in a way that wasn't a book? Because books are great and they teach us so many things, but they're hard to pull out in the middle of an anxiety attack. And so the card deck was born. But those strategies are things that we can work on together when we're not in crisis. So when we are in crisis, we have them at our fingertips, literally and figuratively, to draw from. Another thing we can do to connect with our kids, right? We're our kids' person. They know we're there for them. We can help them identify triggers and develop strategies so that they know we're on their side and we're a team and we're developing all this together. But we need to be with them when they're not in crisis so that they want to be with us when they are in crisis. So it's important to plan one-on-one time with our kids. One-on-one time. Now, if you've got a lot of kids, this is hard. I have 4 children, various ages, 19 all the way down to 9, and it gets challenging to plan one-on-one time. But you need to. We need to plan one-on-one time as often as possible. Coffee dates. One of my kiddos' love language is things. And so we'll go shopping or we'll make a stop. She loves boba. She loves coffee from Starbucks. And so we'll make a run. One of my daughters loves animals. And so going to the pet store, looking at animals, going to the park or the zoo or whatever. One loves theater, right? So we can go to shows. We can see her friends in shows. I can make those things happen. My youngest likes video games. And so I can make one-on-one time, video game time, or I can play Connect 4 with him. It's a game that he likes. We can go for a walk. We can cook dinner together. I can stay up later. It's one of the reasons I don't get any sleep right now. I've got 2 young kids who I have one young kid, right? A 9-year-old. My 13-year-old has always been socially and emotionally about 1.5 to 2 years below her age. So I still think of her as little, but she's obviously growing up. But they get up earlier. My 15 and 19-year-old get up really late, but stay up super late. And so I can spend time with them at the, the morning time with the littles and the late night time with the bigs. But finding ways to get one-on-one time in with your kid. I rarely, and it's exhausting, but it's a season, right? I rarely go shopping alone. I rarely run errands alone. I make sure that I'm turning off my phone and my audiobooks and the radio when I'm driving someone to something that they need to go to so we can talk. Find out what your kiddo loves and try to fit it in. Teach them to cook with them, let them teach you, play a video game, play a board game. I remember there's a section in my book, Raising Resilient Sons, about connection. And one of the things that I say in there is, your boys might like stuff you don't like as a mom. And it's important, though, that we meet them where they are so that they feel comfortable talking to us about whatever's going on in their heads. And so that might mean sitting down with them and saying, "What's going on in your video game? I don't understand video games really well. If you're not a gamer like me, if you're a person who is not a gamer, like I am not a gamer is what I meant. Sitting down with them and asking them to explain what's on the screen with you could be all they need." And I got an email from a mom who did that, and I loved it because she said, "I have been struggling with my teen boy for a while. And the other day I was doing laundry and he was playing his video game like usual. And I was folding my clothes in the family room with him. And I asked him, 'Can you explain to me what's going on in that game?' And he looked at me in surprise," she said, and a big grin lit his face. And he just dove into this explanation of what was going on in the game and asked her if she wanted to try it. So she put down the laundry and she played with him. She's like, "I still don't really know what I did, what I didn't do in the game," but he was so thrilled I took that time, that it's already making a difference in our relationship. And so it really is the little things. Figure out what they like and try to meet them where they are. Connect, 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 because the stronger the relationship is with your child, the better able you will be to meet them in their area of need. And when we can meet them where they are and help them to know that we're there for them, we're all going to thrive, right? Peace will come to our homeschool, and they'll let us know the areas in which they're struggling so that we can help them, and they're not going to feel as threatened by our help because we're there when they don't need help. So they see that we're just as invested in them, whether they're in trouble or struggling or in a perfect place of peace. They just know we love them and value them and want to be with them because of who they are. The final thing in this idea of connecting with your kids, right? So we talked about being your kid's person, identifying those triggers that help them struggle and developing strategies to help them through the struggle, planning one-on-one time. The last thing is show love every single day. No matter how bad your day is, and some days, let's face it, as parents, some days are bad. Some days are struggles uphill all the way until you fall into your bed and then roll back down to the bottom of the hill to start it all over again the next day. Some days just stink. But even in those stinky days, find a way to show love. Find a way to give in to each one of your kids so they know that they're loved and valued, no matter how hard it is. We had a day on the day I'm recording this. We had a day. We had a day where we struggled. My youngest has been super fixated on his video games lately, like ridiculously, to the point where I am now locking them up at night again so that he can't get to them in the morning. And he lost, which I'm saying in air quotes, the iPad today when I asked him to turn in all of the devices. Why did he lose the iPad? Because he doesn't want me to lock it up. He knows he'll get up in the morning before I will, and he wants to spend the first couple hours of his day on the iPad. The problem is the upside to him being on the iPad is he's playing some video games and connecting through FaceTime with a friend of his, a friend who now goes to school and doesn't homeschool anymore, so he doesn't get to see as often as he once did. The downside is if he starts his day on the iPad, I can't get him to do anything else all day. It just, it ruins all of the creativity for the day, and he becomes a bear to be around. It's just how he is wired. If his dopamine is hit with video game screens first thing in the morning, that is all that will make him happy for the rest of the day. If he starts his day with creativity and playing with the dogs and building with his Legos or his mag formers or playing with his minifigures or reading a book, he will spend the majority of his day being creative. And so we're at a point right now where he can't have access to the video games first thing. He needs to get to them later in the day. And so he hid devices, he was argumentative, he refused to do things, he lied about a couple things. It was really hard to show love today because every turn I made, we were fighting or he was undermining something that I was doing. But at the end of the day, he came to me and he said, "I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm sorry I lied to you. I'm sorry I hid the iPad. Will you please forgive me?" And I gave him one of those long hugs, that scientists say you need to hug for whatever, 4 minutes or whatever. I don't even know if it's that long. But as long as it takes to get them to relax in your arms, because that's when the serotonin starts flowing or something like that. I don't know. I could be getting the science wrong. But that's when the heart starts to really connect with the hug. And so I did that and we hugged and we hugged and we hugged and we hugged and we hugged. And it wiped everything out. It made us both feel seen and heard and loved. I'm still locking up the iPad for tomorrow morning, but we're going to bed, each of us feeling better about that decision. So connect, connect, connect. Be your kid's person. Identify triggers. Develop strategies together. Plan one-on-one time and show love every single day. You totally got this. If you go over to the show notes, I've mentioned the show notes before every single episode, but if you go over to the show notes for this particular episode, raisinglifelonglearners.com, there are links and resources to all of the different things that we talked about, other resources to help you connect with your kids, links to the past episodes, links to check out our sponsor, CTC Math. Okay, we're going to be back next week, same time, same place, and it's going to be another good one. I mean, they're all good, but it's going to be a good one. So I don't want you to miss it. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you leave a rating or review if you feel led to, and share this with your friends, and be in touch. Let me know if there's anything that you're thinking of. Let me know what your takeaways are. I would love to hear from you. Have a great week. Love on those kids. Connect, connect, connect. You've got this. I'm so proud of you already. You are a great parent. Do not forget that. Bye for now.